Hi, I'm Ruth Wise, and I'm here today to share with you about a growing pedagogical phenomenon called Waldorf education and why it's spreading throughout the world. In this tutorial, we'll have a brief opening, and then we will be discussing what Waldorf is, including social activism, anthroposophy, phenomenological approach, and how Waldorf is child-centered. And then we will be looking at why Waldorf is growing and why particularly now. Let's begin Waldorf style. I'll give a little chime and then we will read together the opening verse. Feel free to join in as I read. The Song of the Stars. The song of the stars resounds in the heavens. The song of the sun awakens the day. The song of my heart is the sun in my soul, and I'll listen and listen to what it can say. Before we begin, let's just spend a little time as part of our opening to reflect on education, both our own and our ideals of education. What do you remember from your K through 12 years? It's likely not a worksheet or a standardized test, unless you remember that in a negative way. Do you remember a musical instrument you perhaps played or made? Do you remember a particular art project or invention? A relationship with a teacher, with students? Do you have a surplus of positive memories from those years? What do you want for your children if you're a parent or you hope to have children someday? What do you want from your students if you're a teacher? What do you want for children dear to you? And how does education play a role in what you want for children? What are your ideals about education? Think about that. What are your ideals about education? How should education serve our youth? And even how should education serve us as lifelong learners? Well, as we consider our ideals, I'd like you also just to think about some of the principles that I'll be presenting about Waldorf education. The foundation of Waldorf education is social activism. Anthroposophy is the framework. And the approach of Waldorf education is phenomenological. There is encountering, engagement, and inclusion throughout all of learning. Finally, an aspect of Waldorf education that we will be briefly discussing is Waldorf education is child-centered. Social activism is the foundation of Waldorf education. Waldorf education is based on the scientific research, the artistic genius, and the renowned philosophy of Rudolf Steiner to offer hope and healing to traumatized children and even to a traumatized world. The beginning of Waldorf education was right after World War I, when Germany and many, many countries were left impoverished. Children were left fatherless, with mothers who were suffering from trauma, depression. They were starving. And Rudolf Steiner had a philosophy that catered to the needs of not only the mind of students, but to the entire student's well-being. So the first Waldorf school started in Stuttgart to meet the needs of cigarette factory workers, children, and other children in the area. It was an attempt to improve the lives and society after World War I in a way that was completely the polar opposite of Hitler's rise and his philosophy. Another aspect of Waldorf education is anthroposophy as its framework. Anthropos is humanity or humans. Philosophy, of course, is wisdom. So this is the wisdom of humanity, of human development, of humankind. And its definition here from Oxford is anthroposophy is a formal, educational, therapeutic, and creative system established by Rudolf Steiner seeking to use mainly natural means to optimize physical and mental health and well-being. One of his many quotes is the need for imagination, a sense of truth, and a feeling of responsibility. These are the three forces which are the very nerve of education. So perhaps when you were thinking of the ideal education, you may have thought of imagination, truth, responsibility. But if you did not, perhaps you agree that those are very important elements, if not the nerve of education. So Waldorf education also takes a phenomenological approach. I'm just watching my time here. That is encountering, engaging, and including. The teacher stages moments so real that the child can meet the phenomena that occurs in nature and within children and within society, even within the imagination. Finally, Waldorf education, in this brief tutorial, this will be the last aspect of Waldorf education we'll discuss. Waldorf education is child-centered. The child is the center of all instructional activities and guides the formation and constant redesign of instruction and even of the entire school. The teacher recognizes what the child needs to learn at specific developmental stages and then creates the condition to make that possible, to make learning possible, and to make whatever the child needs at that stage to become a reality. Why Waldorf and why now? So Waldorf education was specifically designed to meet the needs of traumatized children in a complex and rapidly changing world. And Waldorf education promotes peace and harmony within each student, among students, and between humanity and the environment. Our environment is in crisis. There is social injustice all over the earth. And children are deeply traumatized by so many events in their lives and on their planet, including the pandemic we're in, including social unrest due to injustice, and due to so many other challenges we are facing. At the same time, Waldorf schools are growing and spreading and multiplying. Here's a little picture of the original location of the first Waldorf school. And now Waldorf schools are in all these locations and more. They've continued to spread since 2016. It's the fastest growing pedagogical movement that is not state, church, or company run. Why might that be? Well, Waldorf gives a surplus of positive memories amidst the times of trauma and uncertainty. Waldorf integrates the heart, hands, and minds of our students and truly connects content to the child and to the world, turning wishes and ideals into a reality. This is a picture of a Jewish child and a Palestinian or Muslim child in a Waldorf school in Israel. This is a picture of what we want to see all over the world, of peace and harmony and joy and positive memories in the making. So let's end with a closing verse. Our work is done. Our day is past. We'll go our separate ways. And I will hold so tight and fast what I have learned today. I've given with my heart and mind the effort my work needs, and I will strive in me to find good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Thank you.